Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. And today I want to talk about how it is okay to say no to things, whether if it's meeting people, whether it's doing something at work, whether it's things that maybe seem to us obvious that we should say yes, but at the end of the day, it's okay to say no. And let's start from why is it that so many people don't know how to say no as often as they may should. And some things that pops into my mind can be sense of obligation, to someone, to somebody, to a situation. Let's say in work, you feel obliged to your boss, or in a relationship, you feel obliged to your partner. In a friendship, you feel obliged to your friend, Another thing I can think of is fear of missing out, or fear of disappointment, to disappoint the person you might say no to. And the third thing that I can think of is not wanting to say no because you want to be liked, by your friends, by your colleagues, by your parents. And I want to dive into why is it so important for us to say no in general. And why sometimes saying too much yes can hurt us. So let's start from saying no. Saying no has direct impact on the way you spend your time. If you say no to some things, then you're gonna have more time to yourself. You're gonna have more time to focus on things that you feel like necessary to work on. We only have 24 hours a day, so you might wanna work mostly on the things you feel like you want to work, And I'm not saying it only has to be work related stuff, but I mean by work I mean like doing the stuff you like, And by saying no, you set boundaries, you set your own boundaries, and it also shows a certain form of self-respect, that you have your own priorities and you have the things that you need and want to do, and this is on top of your priorities. So you cannot go around and say yes to everything. And on the other hand, if you say yes to everything, then it takes down your self-respect, in my opinion, the way people view you, the way you view you, And you're probably gonna end up doing things you don't like, spend more time on other things than those you wanted to do in the first place. And then again, if a person just say yes to everything, well, what are their boundaries, What are their boundaries? And what do they want to do, And let's dive in for a second for some scenarios, but saying no in a relationship, for example, saying yes and no in a relationship. If you just keep saying yes and you don't set any boundaries, then what kind of dynamics you're gonna have in your relationship, Actually, everything ends up in dynamics, That's actually the main core of this concept, but of saying no, that there's gotta be a certain amount of dynamics. So in relationships, you don't want to always say yes, but on the other hand, you also don't want to always say no. So you gotta find that balance. You gotta find that balance that you say no so the other person will know your boundaries, will know what's good and what's not, will know what to talk about and what not, will know what actions to do and what not. And this is how you create good relationship that works with good dynamics, Same goes to friendships, Same goes to relationship with your parents or whatever, but it's all about the dynamics of the relationship and setting the boundaries, And for example, at work, you can be that guy who takes loads of work upon you, and eventually you end up with so much more work that you don't have time to do your own stuff, So what did you do with that, What kind of dynamic is that? So everybody knows that you're the person who is going to say yes to everything. Eventually you just end up with a pile of work that you don't have even time to do. And then you don't have time to do your own stuff, to be with yourself, to work on yourself, So again, it's a dynamic relationship, You have to learn to know when to say yes to certain stuff, and if you don't want to say yes and you don't have time to say yes, you should definitely say no. And now let's talk about ways to say no. Ways to say no. And I think, there is no like 1,000 of ways to come around it. I mean, it's pretty direct, but just be direct, say no, but also be polite about that. And maybe some explanation about why did you say no will also can emphasize the fact that you said no, and you don't do it from a place of being evil or whatever. You just prioritize your time first and your things first. And maybe if you have more ideas, you can also suggest alternative ways. Maybe you cannot do it, but hey, I thought maybe this way could work. Maybe another person can do it, whatever. But so one thing is to say no, and also the way you say it. So if you are always polite, people mostly will understand. And the third thing is maybe suggest a certain other kind of help, to solve the problem that the person needs solution to. He came to you with something, they came to you with some issue, and you said you cannot, but I can offer you a different solution. Then they will just respect you more for actually trying to help them. But yeah, I think that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about today. Pretty short one, but it is really important for us to know and to find a balance between saying yes and saying no, even if it's in front of friends, in front of family, in front of our loved ones, whatever. But each relationship eventually comes down to dynamics. Dynamics between yes, no, personal boundaries. They push towards their side, you push towards your side, and this is exactly the dynamic I'm talking about. So if you are a person who just say yes all the time, try to find that balance, Next time you don't want to do something, next time you don't have time to do something, you can say no. It's okay. Just say no and try to see how the other side reacts, and try to maybe not fall into all of the things I mentioned in the beginning about why do people say yes all the time. And if you know you need to say no and you cannot do that certain thing, maybe you should say no and just stick to it, And eventually you're gonna see that you just benefit from it. And everybody will start knowing your boundaries. And you too, you too. So yeah, I guess this is what I wanted to talk about today. So thank you everyone for joining. And if you're not subscribed yet, please do. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.